Elitism in the gun community. This is a problem that I've never really seen be addressed by anyone, so that's why I'm going to make this video myself. Now, elitism is a problem in any community or niche you've been in. And for me, I've been in a few, and by far, the guns is the worst. Like, I've been involved in the martial arts community, fitness community, metal, and the elitism in metal is bad enough. So if guns beats that, that's how you know it's bad. Now, what is elitism? Best way I can explain it is someone thinking you're less than because you don't like the thing that they like, or specifically in the gun community, it's if you don't have as much money as I do, you suck. And what makes this strange is that they say, well, most people they just want to own guns so they can defend themselves, and Second Amendment says we could all own guns, right? But when you get deeper into it, it's like, well, if you don't own this specific type of gun, have this specific type of optic, and you don't shoot this way, then you're not as good as I am. And it's like, why is that? If you know everyone's just trying to get guns to defend themselves and just be a gun owner, then why not? Why don't you express this in your rhetoric? The irony in this is a lot of gun tubers, they obviously lean right for obvious reasons, but they know that the economy is bad, and they think people have thousands of dollars to use on one gun. Well, $1,000 for one gun, like $300 for an optic, and another what $200 to $300 for 1,000 rounds to use on one trip to the gun range. Like, where's the logic in that? And with that being said, I want to get into my first point, which is budget guns. Budget guns. Now, that's just a thing where you say you're into guns and you have budget guns, and you're going to get a lot of flack for that for some reason. It's kind of like saying you're punk, but your favorite band is Green Day. It's like Green Day is like politically punk, but the music isn't punk, but it's still kind of punk. Budget guns, they're guns, but they're just not the super expensive guns because most people can't afford that. Like I said, the economy is bad. They know the economy is bad. A lot of people are not going to have $1,000 to spend on an AR, $400 on optic, and another few $100s on ammunition. They simply can't afford that. And when the elitists they come in and say you need to own this and you need to own that, it's going to turn a lot of people away because they're going to be like, oh well, if I got to spend all this money on a gun and it's not going to matter, then why not bother? Or maybe not. But it just kind of creates this weird narrative that you have to be rich to own guns. Like if the average American, they just need something affordable and reliable. Like obviously, you don't buy like a Taurus G3C, something like that. Don't buy a handgun like that, which it's cheap and it jams. At least buy something of a reputable brand, something that you can use, something that doesn't jam, and you'll be good enough. Like everybody is not trying to be super tactical, cosplaying as some kind of Navy SEAL, because that's what a lot of these guys like to do. Some people they just want something to protect themselves, and they know that. But when it comes to their rhetoric on what you should buy, that is not expressed at all. Another thing I forgot to include was any sort of aggressor or criminal, it's not going to know the difference between being hit by a bullet from an inexpensive or cheap gun versus a high-end expensive gun. If they're hit, they're hit. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Did you hit your target? If you can't shoot with an inexpensive gun, then a super expensive gun is not going to give you auto aim like you're in a video game. If someone were to come to me, ask, what gun should I buy? I'd say, well, maybe you should go to the range, you try a few out, see if it feels comfortable, then maybe just get that gun that you feel the most comfortable with. I wouldn't just say, you need $1,000 for this pistol, you need to get this optic, and you need to put 1,000 rounds downrange. Then be like, well, I can't afford all that, so I'm not going to do all that. And it just becomes, no, you have to do that if you want to be really for the Second Amendment. Like, relax. It should be obvious to say that spending all your money on, it should be obvious to say that spending your life savings on a gun is financially irresponsible. You need to do, it needs to be something that you can afford. Like protecting yourself with a firearm shouldn't make you broke. You should still be just as somewhat financially stable as you already are. Now, they don't get too crazy when it comes to handguns, but they certainly do when it comes to ARs. Like when it comes to ARs, it's like If you don't have $2,000, just forget about it. And I'm gonna show you mine. So this is the AR I got. DTI. It runs well. 1,000 rounds have been put through it at this point. Never had a problem. Optic, it is a cheap optic. I did get it from Amazon. I could do better, but that's what I got for now. It's what I could afford when I got it, and works just fine for me. That's really all I got to say about it. Like that's all it really needs to be when it comes to just the average person owning a gun. It doesn't need to be something where it's like I said, you need thousands of dollars. Most people, they're not even going to need to do all that tactical training and stuff because that's just not their lifestyle. Like if you're really into guns, then yeah, it's going to make sense why you're going to want to upgrade the more skilled you become. But for the average person, they just don't even have an interest in it. So you're kind of just wasting your time, and it's not going to appeal to the average person. That's what we want to do, right? We want to appeal to the average person so they can join our side. But you can't do that when you have that elitist mindset. People will always be turned away. This brings us to the second point I want to talk about, which is we let the rich right wing Republicans take the microphone rather than the people. Because, like I said, when you look at gun content, it's all obviously people who are well off, right wing Republican guys. Now, I'm not going to say you're bad just because you're right wing or you have, more money than me or the average person, but it's like it kind of makes guns be politicized and affiliated with them rather than Americans just owning guns. If we were to just ask the average person, what do you see when you think of a gun owner? You're probably going to think MAGA, white guy with big beard. And it's like, yeah, because those are the ones that you see doing all the gun content. Is people like that rather than just the average citizen saying, "Hey, yeah, I just want to have this in case something goes down." Like that's what the Second Amendment should look like. It shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't be affiliated with class. It should be what it was intended to do was arm the average American citizen. It should not be limited to the upper class because when gun prices go up and they're the ones that can only afford the higher end stuff, everyone below that is going to be fucked. And that was not the purpose of the Second Amendment. That's exactly what shouldn't be happening. And that's getting closer to what they complain about, where all the Americans become armed and only the richer people have the resources. And we don't want to get to that point. And that's why I'm making this video saying the elitism needs to go. The last point I want to make is how did we get here? Like, why did this happen? And the reason I say, and the reason I have for this is because one, like I said, it became synonymous with the rich and the right, but also because a lot of these people, they just want to be, they just want to cosplay as like Navy SEALs and Marines. Like when they're talking about getting all this high end stuff, they're not just talking about having it for some kind of collection. No, they're talking about doing tactical training or if something was to happen and people invaded, how they're just going to go out with their rifles, their super powerful AR-15s and their snipers, but we know that's not going to happen. If something really goes down like that, they're going to be in a bunker somewhere because they have the means to do so. They don't have to fight. Where the average American, they have to fight. Everybody is not trying to be this super tactical person who's in the gun and go out to competitions and show off your guns. Everybody doesn't try to do that. They just want to arm themselves. And my thing about that too is them trying to cosplay as these special forces is that you're not going to own what they have unless again you're super rich because well you're not going to get an M4 select fire I don't think, but even if you want a machine gun it costs thousands of dollars. Average person is never buying that. If you're rich you can buy it with a little extra, with money and a little extra work, making sure the government trusts you, which they probably will since you took off the establishment. But you're not going to own these super military grade weapons. And that's another thing where the left, they come in and say, AR-15s, they're military grade weapons, they're assault weapons, they're made for mass offings. And it's not. But when you guys have this sort of narrative that being into guns means you want to be some kind of tactical bro, then that's how people who are ignorant are going to view it. You guys are also doing this yourself. It's not just the left. That's really all I have to say. The Second Amendment is about we the people being armed to protect ourselves, our own personal protection, our family, our neighbor, the American people. Not a dick measuring contest, because that's what it has become. A dick measuring contest for well off white guys to feel better about themselves. That's not the Second Amendment. That's just elitism. My goal with this video was just to get people to think. Like, are we getting people to join us and arm themselves, or is it turning people away, thinking that you're crazy if you're a gun owner? There's really something to consider, and we're at a point in this country where it's already bad. And if we don't fix the narrative, the way we talk about it, we're not going to help the problem. We're just going to make it worse. Well, y'all are, because this is the message that I'm spreading. This is the message I have for new gun owners. Just get something reliable, get something you can afford, and keep practicing with it. You don't need to be cosplaying as a Navy SEAL. Just average American citizen that wants to arm themselves. I hope this changes someone's perspective. Maybe it gets out there. I'm hoping it does. I really want it to, because this video really matters. And that's really all I have to say. So yeah, see you next time.